The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of the Side Project Live are not necessarily those of the Illinois Libertarian Party, the National Libertarian Party, Radio Fubar, Tuiville, LRN.FM, the kindly old neighbor on the corner, some random jerk who just cut me off on I-80, the entire Broadway cast of Hair, Bruce Rauner or Pat Quinn, or the Martian Invaders. So there.
We'd like to invite you and all the members of your household
to gather around and join us now
for a very special episode of
Side Project Live.
And what's so special about it?
I'm not wearing any pants.
You know who likes special entertainment like that? My mom!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Side Project Live. The Side Project Live is brought to you by the DuPage Libertarians. The DuPage Libertarians meet on the third Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. in Addison, Illinois, at the American Tap Pub and Grill, located at 701 West Lake Street in Addison. $5 burgers, craft beer, what more can you ask for? Aren't you hungry for the DuPage Libertarians now? Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Side Project Live. Once again, Morris, Illinois, this is Jimmy G.
And this is from Indianapolis, Lex Zorn.
Hi there. Hello from Lockport, Illinois, Eric Ferguson. I'm here. I'm making breakfast.
Wow. I'm going to have to do something here. I can barely hear you guys.
Who, me?
Quick second here. I'm loud.
Who can you barely hear?
Now, you said... Now, were you basing your intro on that old Burger King slogan, "Aren't you hungry for Burger King now"?
You know what? That's the idea. Oh, there we go. I keep forgetting my headphones have this little volume control on it. That's why I wasn't hearing you guys. Yeah, actually, that was it. Actually, I was going to put something different in there, but I totally forgot. But I guess that's the nature of the business. So how's your week, guys?
Oh, it's good. Just doing all the usual. Trying to get film jobs while I'm doing my regular jobs, and trying to be a voice for liberty, and this week trying to get Dallas picked up since it got canceled the other day by TNT. I
had no idea they had gotten re-canceled again.
Yeah, they are actively searching for a new network. So why
don't they do like all
actually
the old,
got a petition online.
Well, why don't they? They should do like they did with all of the old soap operas. It's like they like canceled what was it, All My Children, but now I think you can. They're still making new episodes, but they're all online.
Yeah, and of course that's a possibility for Dallas as well that's been mentioned. But there's currently a petition with 71,000 names on it in just a week. I'm trying to get it back on, so we'll see what happens. But go ahead.
I wonder if they contacted Amazon or Netflix because they're big into like getting original programming off the ground.
Yeah, that is another growing trend as well. So I think there's a fair chance the show will be renewed. I hope so because they have so many lingering plot lines. If it ended right now, there's just so much that people would be left wondering about. So
that's the problem.
They had a big cliffhanger to end the season a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's the problem with all of those shows that have like that have cliffhangers or of the kind of soap opera type variety. At the end of the series, end of the show, it's like there's so much stuff left over that what do you do with it? Now there's a few times when they turned it into movies. I can think of two off the top of my head: Firefly and Twin Peaks. But for the most part, they just leave a lot of those plot lines hanging.
Yeah, and of course, yes, there are a few shows that do farewell episodes to basically put an end to all to resolve all the major storylines. But and the first Dallas did have that, although even then it left you with a cliffhanger because you saw JR with a gun to his head, and then you heard a gunshot, but you never know if he actually shot himself or not, which turned out he didn't because he was still alive 21 years later when the suit resumed.
Right, but of course now Larry Hagman is dead, so they obviously had to write him out of the show.
Yeah, so the character's dead now, but only because the actor died in real life.
Right.
And
speaking of dead actors, I always thought it was interesting that in the Batman movies, in the first Batman, the one Jack Nicholson, the Joker, they killed him off, yet Jack Nicholson's still alive. But in The Dark Knight, the Joker is still alive, yet the actor who played him is dead.
Yeah, and that's, of course, it's ironic that you mention that because I use that example so often as the potential danger of an actor getting into character, because there are some actors, my brother's done this before too, in fact, that are called method actors, in which they during the production of a film they will live their life as if they are the character they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And Heath Ledger did that. I mean, he spent a month in a hotel room trying to get himself into character as the Joker.
I heard recently somewhere, but that whole thing is actually not true, or there at least some aspect of that's not true. I have to double check that.
I'd read that it was, and I read that was what caused him the depression that led to him, taking all those antidepressants that eventually killed him. But yeah, it is an interesting phenomenon. Now I've never done that. I've acted in 33 films. I've never.
Wow.
I've never.
That's 33 more than I've acted in.
yeah. Well, we're getting ready to do 80s metal stars, so that, you'll get a chance there. But well, I'll give you some details about that. Hopefully this month we'll have something concrete. But yeah, it's I've never I don't know how good I am. I'll let others decide that. But I've always just I feel like I can turn it on when I'm on camera, and then go back to regular life when the director says cut. And so of course then again I've played bad characters, but I've never played a complete psychopath or anything like that. So maybe in that case maybe it would be different, but.
There's a couple of things about Batman. First of all, I remember David Letterman once had a great joke in the first two Tim Burton Batman films. District Attorney Harvey Dent was portrayed by Billy D. Williams, and he was supposed to actually play Two-Face in the third one, but for some reason they decided to go with Tommy Lee Jones. They had to buy out. There was a lawsuit, and then they bought out Billy D. Williams' contract. David Letterman chimed up. In Batman Forever, they never explain how Harvey Dent changed from a black guy to a white guy.
That's the same thing with Felix Leiter in the James Bond films. He's been portrayed by, I think, 6 whites and 2 blacks.
I have a theory on that, and it ties in with the rest of the James Bond theories that James Bond is just a code name, and I have a feeling Felix Leiter could be the same thing. But hey, the other Batman thing, and I just read this yesterday. Have you guys seen the Lego movie?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
I love it.
Had you, Eric?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I just heard yesterday that they're pushing back the Lego movie sequel to 2018 because they're going to, in 2017, release a Lego movie Batman spin-off with the same Batman from the Lego movie. I'm like, nice. That would be freaking awesome.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Oh God! Like I'm telling you, seriously, you have to see the Lego movie. I know. Okay. I know we keep harping on this, but it seriously, and I'm not kidding. It is the most libertarian movie I've ever seen in my life.
I did pick up on some of that. I also picked up on a lot of libertarian messages from the Hunger Games.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you don't expect it in something like the Lego movie. Now,
no, you don't.
There was
I agree.
Something
sure,
recently,
and Atlas Shrugged, but yeah, I mean, just as a movie that wasn't intended to be a libertarian movie necessarily, Lego movie's great.
Oh yeah, and I was just reading something recently stating that the message behind the Lego movie was was an anti-copyright, or like anti-copyright law, anti-SOPA PIPA laws message in it, because they make the point, and I see where they're coming from, that the bad guy in the Lego movie wants everything to be perfect, and he doesn't want anybody taking the pieces from his creation and then putting them and creating something else with the pieces.
Right.
And they were saying that that's a metaphor for the current state of copyright laws, and I can see that, but that is a libertarian issue. So,
yeah, I don't think that supporting intellectual property rights is anti-libertarian at all. But
I would say it's to the degree that they're enforcing it.
I think sometimes. Yeah, I could go for that. Yeah, and Eric, this was.
Oh God, I got to get that clock. My son's got the Lego Ninjago clock like that, but I got to get that Emmett one.
And Eric, I've mentioned this to Jim before, but this was before you joined us. Even though it's and unfortunately it's a pretty bad movie, but Superman 4. Though it was probably unintentional, really has a strong anti-gun control message. Because in the movie Superman, then of course you have to keep in mind this came out during the 80s, during the Cold War, when nuclear war was a big issue. Superman took all the nuclear weapons out of the world, and then what happened was that Lex Luthor just started dealing arms underground. So you see, from whether even though Christopher Reeve was a liberal. The unintentional message of that movie was that gun control doesn't work. And yeah, unfortunately, it was a pretty badly made movie. So obviously hurting the effectiveness of the message, but the message was there whether it was intended or not, and whether it was well presented or not. And so.
Yeah, like Bowling for Columbine.
Yeah,
but I would hardly qualify, I would hardly qualify anything that Michael Moore does as a movie. But
I read speaking of Michael Moore, and this does have a libertarian tie to it.
Canadian Bacon.
Kurt
hated that movie.
Kurt Loder.
I didn't think it was funny at all.
Kurt Loder, the MTV news guy back in around late 80s, early 90s, is actually a libertarian. He describes his philosophy as free love and free markets, and he wrote a review for Rolling Stone of Michael Moore's movie Sicko, which was his expose on the healthcare industry, and completely dismantled the movie. Loder started off by praising Moore for pointing out some of the people who've been victims of the American healthcare system, but then points out how Moore has no idea what the solution is, and then Moore also portrays in glowing terms the healthcare systems of, Canada, United Kingdom, France, and even Cuba, and basically points to, a lot of misinformation and cherry-picked facts, and that, Moore basically fails to mention, the tremendous, failings of these healthcare systems, the way that they leave people who don't have what are perceived as life-threatening instances, that leave them neglected for years. I mean, he told a story about Loder told a story about a woman in Canada who had to wait 18 months for knee surgery while she was in excruciating pain, started taking painkillers and became addicted to them. And then after she got the knee surgeries, then she went on another waiting list to get treatment for painkiller addiction.
Well, there is a lot, that you could say about that, and we've talked a ton about the Michael Moore's quote unquote movies before and that, but there's a couple of things I want to bring up tonight. But the first thing, if you want to get in touch with the show, you can leave us a number or a voice message on our Google Voice line. That's 815-200-4912. Our Twitter is @TheSideProject2, and our email is thesideproject2@gmail.com. And if you've got something you want to say to us, hashtag TSP Live. That is our hashtag, even though the country band, the Sugar Pies, decided to use the same hashtag. Go figure that one out. Even though we had it first. But real quickly, before we get into our main topic, okay, everybody who lives in Illinois knows that all of this stuff that we've been fighting to get the libertarians on the ballot and that, and how we're really getting bad press coverage for our candidates for the most part. The good news is that our person running for comptroller is right now polling at 9%, which if she can keep that up, that means that we don't have to go through all the bull crap that we had to do this year. Yeah. And we're actually polling pretty good on quite a few of our candidates, relatively speaking. But there's a lot of people out there, especially on this Reboot Illinois site. There's this one guy that I just really want to bring attention to, and I'm going to want to rip him a new one here. But okay, on the Reboot Illinois site on Facebook, page on Facebook, I posted this up. Telling someone to vote for the lesser of two evils is like telling someone that they need to vote for Jason so that Freddy doesn't win. And this guy, his first name starts with a K and his last name begins with an L. Yeah, vote for Chad Grimm so we can give the current freedom-hating criminal who's raised our taxes and screwed our state 4 more years. Liberals like Quinn love the Libertarian Party because they peel off Republican votes from stupid people like you. Don't complain if we get Connecticut-style gun laws and the tax hikes become permanent because idiots like you wasted your vote. I responded, you're the type of idiot that has no principles. How does it feel to go through life not having any integrity? And you assume that I would vote for Rauner in the first place. Newsflash, if a libertarian wasn't on the ballot, I wouldn't have voted. You're the kind of person that would vote for Jason to prevent Freddy from winning. Go ahead and vote for the lesser of two evils. As for me, I have principles and refuse to vote for evil. Somebody else responded, a different person. Oh, I just never noticed this, but her initials are also K and L. Libertarians don't steal votes. That is an act of aggression. Libertarians earn votes just as other candidates must do. I responded to my last post saying, oh, by the way, thank you for your comments. I'm going to rip you a new one on my podcast tomorrow. And then he responds, my principle is Pat Quinn is no longer being governor. I didn't even vote for Rauner in the primary. Guns and immigration are my top issues, and Quinn has been terrible on both. Rauner opposes an assault weapons ban, supports concealed carry, and wants to repeal Quinn's tax increases. You know, libertarian candidate wants that stuff. Means throwing. That's good enough for me to vote for him. If having principles means throwing away my vote so an anti-gun, pro-amnesty, tax-raising, corrupt Chicago criminal stays in office, then to hell with principles. To hell with principles.
Exactly. That's lovely.
Oh, God. Yeah. He proved my point. He just proved my point. Our state can't afford 4 more years of this jerk. And yes, I would vote for Jason to stop Freddy. If Freddy was trying to make me a felon for owning a gun, what? He doesn't like and Jason isn't. And yes, I'll vote for Jason to stop Freddy from making a 67% tax increase permanent, or if Freddy is trying to make our state a safe haven for illegal aliens. There is no lesser of two evils. If you're pro-Second Amendment, you're spelled wrong, by the way, anti-amnesty, anti-tax, and pro-jobs, you vote for Rauner. If you're happy, you're spelled wrong again. If we're throwing your vote away and think the last 4 years have been just peachy, then go ahead and vote for Grimm because you think he's going to legalize pot. And I responded this morning, you're the one throwing the vote away by contributing to the corrupt system in this state. Anyway, like I said, I have no reason to vote for Rauner anyway, and it's more than just pot. It's about free markets and personal responsibility. The things the Republicans love to talk about but always betray.
Yeah, and, you know, it just comes back to, I've been saying, American politics is a spectator sport, and these people pick up, you know, 1 or 2 issues, you know, the Cubs are better than the White Sox. Well, why? They're just better. Yep. And that's it. That's the only response that you have is they're just better or whatever. Bears and Packers, pick one. I don't care. But it's the same thing. You know, Coke or Pepsi. I like RC.
That's what we grew up on.
You know, Mac or Windows. How about Linux? You know, and I just don't understand why people can't get that through their head. Duracell or Energizer. Rayovac. Panasonic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the cliche is lesser of two. If you vote for the lesser of two evils, you're still voting for evil, and that's true.
It's
you
still
know,
a vote for evil.
Exactly. I'm not going to vote for somebody who's 98% evil just because I don't want somebody who's 99% evil to win.
Yeah, kick in the crotch or punch in the face.
Yeah, no kidding. I'll take neither. Thank you. Oh, guy. I mean, come on. seriously, this guy really has no principles. And anyone who's a libertarian in Illinois who posts on these threads, he's always commenting with his snarky,
Yeah, go
"You're
ahead.
just wasting
Yeah,
your
go
vote." And we've tackled this issue before, and the thing is that he's first of all assuming that we were going to vote for the Republican in the first place.
Oh yeah, they already own your vote.
Yeah. As I said, if there was no libertarian on the ballot, I wouldn't be voting.
Yeah. I went to the poll and I signed in and looked at the ballot. That's it. I'd leave it up and leave it blank and leave.
Yeah. You know what? Last time through the election, I've said it before. I only voted in 4 races. Ones that either had libertarians, or ones which I've actually gotten to talk to the candidate personally, and I actually did. It was a guy for judge. I asked him 3 questions. I asked him about, let me think, the war on drugs, red light cameras, and recording police. And he agreed with my position on all 3 of those issues, and I'm like, hey, I'll vote for you. There
you go.
He's a politician. He could have been lying, for all we know. But, at least he took the time to come out and answer my questions. So that wasn't a wasted vote, even though he lost, because I did it in principle. I did it with a clear conscience. The only wasted vote is one not cast in a clear conscience, and I have a clear conscience in my vote.
Yeah, I love that. If you don't vote, you can't complain. I say not voting is a complaint. I wanted to.
Ooh, that's good. I hadn't even thought of that one. I want to think somebody told me George Carlin said this, but I'm not 100% certain. But the thing is that if you vote, you have no right to complain.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're the one contributing to the corrupt system.
Yeah, you got what you asked for.
Now, I'll say that right now, sadly, the only way we can change the system is through the cards that were dealt. But what the establishment puts out there. But I would say right now, with the way that the election in Illinois is going for the Libertarian Party, that we're going to have a pretty easy time getting on the ballot for the next 4 years if all of these numbers show up. I mean, our governor candidate's doing pretty good. And as I said, our comptroller candidate's doing fantastic. And I believe our Senate candidate is doing pretty well as well.
Yeah, there's real potential.
It's right now. It's a good time to be supporting the Libertarian candidates in Illinois. And the one thing, this just occurred to me. And he's like, you're wasting your vote if you vote for Chad Graham, and you should be voting for Rauner, blah 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 blah. I'm like, another thing that just occurred to me. Okay, well then let's make it easy for the other third party to get on the ballot. Let's split this thing 4 ways. I'm sure you'd like it if there was another left-wing party on the ballot to strip votes away from the other one. So why don't we just let them all on?
There you go. Or how about you can't argue that anyone's stealing votes when only about half of those eligible to vote do? What about all those?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and of course, this is something that I've been hearing for over 20 years now, since I first discovered, since I first started leaning toward the LP back in 1992, and it's something that the whole premise from the argument is so ridiculous that people should feel insulted by it, and just the notion that candidates from the major parties are entitled to the votes of people who do not want to vote for them. And the thing is, basically, besides the attacks of our civil liberties, which are immense, I mean, one measuring stick I use right off for candidates who are running for federal office, what do they want to do with the military, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security? The reason being that those 4 programs are really are the ones that have to be reformed if we're going to balance the budget. The other stuff is just tweaking. There's plenty of other stuff that needs to be cut, but it's insignificant compared to those 4 things. And if a candidate does not have a response to those 4 things right off, then that's a candidate that's not worthy of our support.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that any of these, the only way that the two major parties will ever change is if we withdraw our support from them. Because if we can just keep going back to the Democrat to the Republican and back and forth, then they have no incentive to change whatsoever. But basically, and again, I will vote for the occasional Ron Paul or Justin Amash, but they're extremely, extremely rare. That is Liberty candidates who run, with the major parties, and you look at, basically we just need to start saying that we will not vote for candidates who will vote for any infringement on our civil liberties. We won't vote for any candidates who support the Patriot Act, or who don't support a balanced budget. We won't vote for any candidates who are pro-war, who just want to go bomb every country in sight. And
I have to. Eric put up this graph here about voter turnout, and he said there's never been more than 65% since 1908. Which is the last time the Cubs won the World Series. So when the Cubs win the World Series, voter turnout's going to be closer to 85%.
Yeah. Although it should be noted, like there are like. Oh yeah, I know it was, but another example, like when Jesse Ventura ran for governor of Minnesota, they had I think 63%, something really high, and it was not a presidential election year either. So clearly, when you have a third-party candidate who's perceived as viable, that makes an enormous difference. And he got the votes of a lot of people who normally do not vote, and was able to win the governorship with I think 37, 39%, something like that. It was well under 50. So it's not like we have to convert 50% of the people in society, and we just have to get a strong enough minority.
And I just wanted to bring that up because this guy, he's like this guy on Facebook on the Reboot Illinois page is just like the most epic freaking troll out there, and the guy's pissing me off, and I just wanted to rip him a new one, but not to detract from the topic that I had. And I actually read this through Naked Security, which is the Sophos antivirus security website. But the article I'm going to be reading from is on BuzzFeed. And if this doesn't piss you off, you really have no sense of liberty in this country. Government set up a fake Facebook page in this woman's name. A DEA agent commandeered a woman's identity, created a phony Facebook account in her name, and posted racy photos he found on her seized cell phone. The government said he had the right to do that. Update, the Facebook has since removed the page, and the Justice Department said it is reviewing the incident. Whoa, nice. But at any rate, the Justice Department is claiming in a little-noticed court filing that a federal agent had the right to impersonate a young woman online by creating a Facebook page in her name without her knowledge. Government lawyers also are defending the agent's right to scour the woman's seized cell phone and to post photographs, including racy pictures of her and even one of her young son and niece, to the phony social media account which the agent was using to communicate with suspected criminals. The woman, Sandra Arquiette, who then went by the name Sandra Prince, first learned her identity had been commandeered in 2010 when a friend asked about the pictures she was posting on her Facebook page. There she was for anyone with an account to see, posing on the hood of a BMW, legs spread, or in another wearing only skimpy attire. She was surprised. She hadn't even set up a Facebook page. The account was actually set up by U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration Special Agent Timothy Sinigan. Not long before, law enforcement officers had arrested Arquiette, alleging she was part of a drug ring. A judge, weighing evidence that the single mom was a bit player who accepted responsibility, ultimately sentenced Arquiette to probation. But while she was awaiting trial, Sinigan created the fake Facebook page using Arquiette's real name, posted photos from her seized cell phone, and communicated with at least one wanted fugitive, all without her knowledge. On Monday, the Justice Department's headquarters in Washington, D.C. referred all questions to the DEA, which then declined to answer questions. Gee, there's a shock, and in turn referred inquiries to the local U.S. Attorney's Office in Albany, New York. That office did not respond to multiple requests for an interview. Gee, another shock. But on Tuesday, less than 24 hours after BuzzFeed News published the story, the Justice Department's top spokesperson, Brian Fallon, said the incident at issue in this case is under review by the Justice Department officials, which is the standard government line, by the way, for anyone in law enforcement of any sort who gets into trouble. A Facebook spokesman declined to comment on the case, which it's not really their fault. The site's community standards say claiming to be another person, creating a false presence for an organization, or creating multiple accounts undermines community and violates Facebook's terms. The spokesman said there's no exception to this policy for law enforcement, which good on them, and as we said in the earlier part of the story, they actually did take the page down, so good on them for that too. On Monday, the bogus Facebook page was accessible to the public, but after this story was published, Facebook took down the page, telling BuzzFeed News, "We removed the profile because it violates our community standards," he says as he takes a drink. Where was I? Okay. Leading privacy experts told BuzzFeed News that they found the case disturbing. "It reeks of misrepresentation, fraud, and invasion of privacy," said Anita L. Allen, a professor at University of Pennsylvania Law School.
Yeah, how about abuse of power?
Yeah, no kidding. The experts also agreed that the case raises novel legal and ethical questions. Gee, you think? There is a long tradition of deceptive practices by police that are legal, they noted. For example, officers assume a false identity to go undercover. What's different here, said Ryan Kalo, professor at University of Washington School of Law, is that the agent assumed the identity of a real person without her explicit consent. The technologies we have now are enabling all sorts of new uses, says Neil Richards, no relation to Keith, a professor at the Washington University School of Law. There are a whole bunch of new things that are possible, and we don't have rules for them yet. Okay, yeah, that's true. There are a whole bunch of new things that are possible. We don't have rules for them yet. Okay, fine. We don't have rules for them, but there's still a thing as respecting people's privacy and acting ethically. I mean, there has to be rules for that. You can't just be a decent guy and not do something that's douchey.
Well, yeah, if you or I did that, I swipe someone's phone and I take all their pictures and open a Facebook account and all that nonsense, I get arrested.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we would get charged with identity theft. We would go to jail. We would get
and defamation of character and just all kinds of, you bet, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and they're doing this, and they're using seized information off of her phone, and while it's entirely possible that they had a search warrant, well, actually, no. Did I read the article correctly? They arrested her.
Yeah, they arrested her and seized her phone. So, yeah, and then like the article, and the article talks about, she gave up her rights to privacy when she gave them her phone. She did. You seized it from me. I didn't volunteer to. Yeah. Where's my phone?
Yeah. There's no. The article doesn't mention anything about a search warrant, and as far as I'm concerned, a search warrant should be mandatory here. And you know what? And I don't like the one thing I don't like about the. I think it's the Fourth Amendment with the search, where the search warrant concept comes from, is I don't like the reasonable suspicion aspect of it, where if they have a reasonable suspicion that you're involved in an illegal thing, that they can just come in and ransack your house without a search warrant. And we've had issues personally where with the DCSF here in Illinois, where the agent for the DCFS, they wanted to search our house, told them not without a search warrant. They came back with a cop. Cop said don't need a search warrant.
Yeah. See, and I mean, I understand it. Look, if it's for the preservation of life and property, right? You're going after somebody that is going to go and shoot up the post office. You don't need a search warrant to pull this guy over and search his car and grab it. You don't need one. I get that. But to just come in your house because we think you might be doing something wrong, and that's the problem, is the law's not specific enough in that, we don't need a warrant under these circumstances. Well, what circumstances? Well, it's just way too wide open.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And there's the cops, the DEA, the whatever, they're getting away with a whole lot, and the worst offenders, as we've said on the show time and time again, are the Border Patrol agents, and just stopping everybody without reasonable suspicion within 70 to 100 miles of our southern border. And I heard rumors of the same thing happening up on the northern border at this point now, but I don't know. You know what? Just don't act like a douche. You know,
The way
George
a way
Carlin
to
was.
stop a way to stop that is libertarian-minded judges, people that appreciate rule of law, sitting at the bench, because
Mhm.
then that word reasonable is interpreted by who we want it to be interpreted by.
Right.
Because that's where what does reasonable mean? If it's reasonable suspicion, well, I mean, if the judge thinks that everybody on the planet is a criminal, well, then anything the cop says is reasonable.
Mhm.
So, that's where it starts, because then law enforcement has to rethink that reasonable suspicion. You can't just pull over anyone because I don't like red cars and they're driving one, so I'm going to stop them. You can't get away with that if the judge doesn't agree with you. And
Mhm.
that's where this is coming from. It's all happening at the bench.
Well, red cars are the ones that are most often being stolen. So I'm going to pull over
Oh,
every
whatever.
red
I'm
car I
just picking
see.
on red. I don't care. Just
No,
picking
that's
on
seriously. I mean, I've heard that statistic somewhere. I think that's an
Yeah,
insurance,
the red
insurance
cars are more
industry.
likely to speed and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, hey, given that logic, why don't we arrest every Chicago White Sox fan because they've got the capacity to run on the field and beat the hell out of the opposing team players?
Hey, they're carrying bats.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. Oh yeah. Oh gosh, if that's not a riot waiting to happen, I don't know what is. All right, let's keep going here. The DEA's action might never have come to light if Arquiette, now 28, hadn't sued Sinogen, accusing him in federal district court in Syracuse, New York, of violating her privacy and placing her in danger. You know what? That's something else entirely here too. That's interesting. If this person was involved, even tangentially, with a drug ring, had some involvement with that, and she never had a Facebook page, and she puts one up. Now, BuzzFeed has some of the pictures that were posted up. I mean, obviously the faces are blurred out, and she's got a nice little body, but there's a few pictures of her in and on the BMW. Was it BMW or Mercedes? It doesn't matter. And the thing there is that most likely that's not her BMW. Most likely that is the BMW of the person who. Well, not necessarily most likely, but there is a chance that BMW is owned by the drug dealer. And given this country's horrible drug laws, drugs are illegal, and that person's probably got a bunch of guns, and he could probably come after her if he sees these pictures posted. I wasn't even thinking about this.
Maybe you might be endangering that person by doing this. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, was this agent? Well, I was gonna say, was he thinking? We know the obvious answer to that, but that's an angle I hadn't even thought of on this. Placing her in danger. Yeah, that's.
Isn't this Red Ribbon Week?
Yeah, no kidding. And something else here is that earlier in the article they said that they also posted a picture of her child and was it niece or nephew? That placed them in danger. And if you see the pictures that were posted, they were real little, like a baby and maybe a 3-year-old. Now this lawsuit's a few years later, but yeah, they're like, one of them was a baby, and one was like really little, and they're neither one of them are over 10 even still at this point, and you're placing those kids in danger too. If we had done something like this and we had posted those pictures of those kids and there was a potential of them getting in danger, we would have had our asses hauled off in jail for that.
Yeah, there's a knock on the door. There's no question about it. Yeah, Red Ribbon Week actually starts the 23rd. It's funny we're kind of bashing DEA agents when Red Ribbon Week is upon us.
Refresh my memory. Red Ribbon Week. Which is that one?
That's a be good to yourself, don't do drugs thing.
Yeah, you know what? When it comes to the whole drug thing, I've been binging on the Penn and Teller well, I can't say the name. Penn and Teller's BS show, which was on Showtime, which they tackle a bunch of subjects, and there's a lot of swearing and gratuitous nudity in them, even though the topics are.
Except in the swearing episode, they don't swear.
They did a swearing episode?
Yeah, they did a thing on censorship, and they got into all dirty words and stuff, and they interviewed people. That one, they don't swear.
I think I've watched that one. I'll have to watch that one again. That was awesome.
Yeah, just for the sake of doing it, they decided on that particular one where the whole program is about dirty words that they're not going to use any.
Now I forgot the point I was going to make.
I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez.
Well, they covered a drug war thing, so.
Yeah, they've covered the drug war. Oh, yeah. I remember what it was. Is that they've come out and they said they're for drug legalization and people should be able to put whatever they want in their bodies, and they believe that people should be able to, use alcohol, but they personally don't do it because they don't see it as a good thing.
Yeah.
But they think other people should have that right.
Yeah, they say they've never done it. Maybe true, maybe not. I believe them. But, yeah, and they're all for letting you do whatever you want to do. Just don't do it at their house.
Oh, by the way, side note, a few months back, I tried contacting some celebrities to be on the show, and the only people who I heard back from was Penn's, and they said he's kind of busy right now. So, we'll contact you if something clears up on his schedule. So that was pretty cool.
That is very cool.
But to continue on here with the article, blah, 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 blah. In a court filing, the U.S. attorney acknowledges that unbeknownst to Arquiette, Sinogen created the fake account, posed as her, posted photos, sent a friend request to a fugitive, accepted other friend requests, and used the account for a legitimate law enforcement purpose. The government's response lays out an argument justifying Sinogen's actions. Defendants admit that the plaintiff did not give express permission for the use of photographs contained on her phone on an undercover Facebook page, but state the plaintiff implicitly consented by granting access to the information stored in her cell phone and by consenting to the use of that information to aid in an ongoing criminal investigations. That argument is problematic, according to the privacy experts. I may allow someone to come into my home and search, but that doesn't mean they can take the photos from my coffee table and post them online. Okay, here's an issue with that. A few years ago, we were out with some friends. We were having a picnic, and this friend wanted me to show me this picture that was on her phone, and I don't remember what it was. It was something that she was she was doing. I think it was like some charity event or something. But then I kind of dropped the phone, and then I picked it up, and my thumb hit the screen, and I accidentally slid to the next picture, and it was a picture of her breastises. And she's like, "Oh, don't do that, don't do that." And I'm like, just because she handed me her phone to see this one picture doesn't mean that she wanted me to see everything that's on her phone. I think people forget that. I mean, we're in an age where now that we don't have like the big old thing of pictures from Walmart or Walgreens or whatever, and you look through it and just hand one to a person. You're handing everybody your whole thing, but that still doesn't give them permission to rifle through it. You're like, when somebody hands me their phone or something and wants me to look at a picture, I look at the picture if I don't accidentally drop the phone and misplace my thumb. And it was an accident. It was an accident. Okay, I'm just putting that out there. But it doesn't mean that I can go rifling through her pictures. It doesn't mean I can go, looking at her contacts or buy in-app purchases for some game that's on her phone or any of that. She just wants me to see that one picture. Right. And it's got her hand out, like this, like, come on, give me my phone back, give me my phone back when you're done with it. I mean, you're not granting express consent to everything on your phone.
Just to be a stick in the mud, how about this? I'll argue that you're violating copyright law, since everything now in the United States, all media, all intellectual property, everything is automatically copyrighted forever. They never expire anymore. Go ahead and post the new hit single on your Facebook page and see how fast that gets taken down, and you get nasty letters from the record company, and you can't do this and you can't do that. Aren't the photos I take copywritten by me? Mm-hmm. My camera says they are. I actually have a setting in there where you can tell to turn the copyright on and put the information. And it is. It has my name on it, copyrighted by me. So if this police officer takes a picture of me and posts it on a fake Facebook page, they're breaking federal copyright law.
I hadn't even thought of that.
It's absurd, but come on. This is the kind of lengths that they go to persecute you and I.
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. You're right. That is absurd, but that's another tool that we can use in this.
It's a tool they use. It's a tool they use to, to oppress you. Well,
You know, the worst thing is there's this with YouTube, and we're on YouTube, of course. You know, I love my corporate overlords, by the way. But the but the issue with that, there's this thing on YouTube that I just drastically enjoy. They're called literal music videos, and what it is they take a music video, and they take and with the there's my daughter, and they add different lyrics to the song, you know, that's describing what's going on the screen. The problem is that YouTube's got some sort of algorithm that listens to everything, and if it hears the music being the same, in this case the background music, it'll automatically throw out a copyright thing or pull it down or something. Maybe not necessarily automatically, but there's something in some sort of database or whatever. And
well, it checks if you've posted a piece of music and you didn't post it with the ability to be monetized, then they mute the audio automatically. They use the same stuff that if you have the Google Play thing on your mobile phone or whatever, they have a music search like all of the other ones. It can listen to music and determine what it is, and of course send you to the store so you can buy it. Well, they use the same technology to scan your videos for copywritten material.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is that, I mean, they've got the algorithm, and to get around this, I don't remember how it worked, but they took and they broadcast the video inside a frame, and I think the frame was like a picture of a TV with like a cat sitting on it or something, and somehow that got around the algorithm around the search. Don't ask me how, but it worked. And I would think that falls under fair use parody, but I mean, we got the technology that's out there already searching for potential violations without giving any regard to such things as fair use.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I appreciate what they're doing. You know, I mean, and if you choose to, you know, monetize it and, you know, you can get away, that's fine, as long as you're not, you know, breaking the law. But I think they pressed their luck a little bit on restricting fair use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's it's interesting. Weird Al, whenever he does a parody, realizes that he's got the fair use thing on his side, but he still likes to get permission just to build relationships, and that's a good way to to look at it. But I mean, Joe Average, who's out there just like not making any money off of anything, just doing something for fun, you know. Well, you're violating our intellectual properties and that sort of thing. Hell, there was a website out there that I thought was just hilarious. It was called the Church of SpongeBob, and they were forced closed because Nickelodeon was closing all SpongeBob fan sites. There was a podcast I used to listen to. It was called Cubs Cast. It was obviously about the Chicago Cubs. Major League Baseball shut it down because they used the word Cubs in the title.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look at, we can't say it here or they'll kick us off, the big game. You can't say what it really is because the NFL will take you to court.
Oh, interesting. You mentioned the NFL. I just this morning read an article from Reason. A few weeks ago they did a thing about the 5 most libertarian shows on television. This week they did the 5 least libertarian shows on television. You know what number 2 was?
What's that?
Football. And they were talking about, and the reason they gave is because all of the behind-the-scenes, vociferous like copyright infringement stuff that they've been going to and shutting down all these things. The NFL have shut down stinking Super Bowl parties that were held at churches and stuff. I'm not the most religious guy in the world, but that's just freaking petty.
Yep. You said the S word, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. I could be talking about my toilet. You know what? I think I'll start doing is instead of using the term Super Bowl, I will just say Snow Bowl. But then again, I'd get sued by a ski resort in Arizona.
Yeah, or some toilet bowl cleaner. Do they still make Snow Bowl?
That's a good question. They probably have it in the store right next to the Anison.
Yeah, they still make Snow Bowl. I haven't seen that around in a
We're
long
nothing
time.
if not timely and topical here.
That's right.
Let me think here. But you know, you were talking about the copyright.
It's
The argument is
ridiculous.
problematic according to privacy experts. I may allow someone to come into my home and search, but that doesn't mean they can take photos from my coffee table and post them online, which is basically what, you know, the argument I was saying was too. I cannot imagine she thought this would be a use that she consented to, the University of Washington's Kalo said. That's a dangerous expansion of the idea of consent, particularly given the amount of information on people's cell phones, said Elizabeth Joe, a professor at the University of California, Davis School of Law. Government's court filing confirms that Synogen posted a photo of Arquia wearing either a two-piece bathing suit or a bra and underwear, but denies the characterization of the photograph as suggestive. This picture is no longer on the Facebook page, but the others are. An album called Sosa, her nickname, shows her in a strapless shirt and large hoop earrings, or in another, lying face down on the hood of a BMW, legs kicked up behind her. At least I still have this car, reads a comment supposedly posted by her. The DOJ also acknowledges that Synogen posted photos of Arquiette's son and niece, who were clearly young children. Let me see. The article keeps going on and on and on. Arquiette, let me see. Arquiette's lawyer argued that Branford and his crew, all right, 2008, Arquiette was dating Jermaine Branford, who authorities believe to be the head of the drug trafficking ring. He also physically abused her, according to the sentencing motion her lawyer filed. Okay, well, there you go. That goes back to something else we were saying earlier about what the article was saying that we commented on about the whole thing being dangerous to her, putting her in danger. Let me see. Arquiette's lawyer argued that Branford and his crew took advantage of her vulnerabilities. To her, because they took care, quote unquote, of her, she considered them like family. In fact, they preyed upon and used her. Arquiette, Kimberly Zimmer is Arquiette's attorney. Arquiette wasn't paid like other members of the drug ring, just given money on occasion to buy gas or other items. Ms. Arquiette never intended for any of the pictures on her phone to be displayed publicly, let alone on Facebook, which has more than 800 million active users. She wrote in the motion addressing sentencing. More disturbing than the fact that the DEA agents posted a picture of her in her underwear and bra is the fact the DEA agents posted a picture of her young son and young niece in connection with the Facebook account, which the DEA agents later claimed was used for legitimate law enforcement purposes. Legitimate law enforcement purposes.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie The Devil's Rejects?
Yes, it's been some time though.
Yeah, that's the Rob Zombie sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses, and easily the best movie Rob Zombie's ever done. Very disturbing, but there's this one scene where Captain Spaulding, the clown, I can't remember the actor who played him. I'd know him if I saw him. He's like in the store, his car's broken down or whatever, and this lady and her kids pull in, and the guy who plays Captain Spaulding is like he's a clown, he's in full clown makeup. He goes up to the woman and goes, "Ma'am, I'm gonna need your car, official clown business." Hey, DEA, we're gonna need your car, official DEA business. I mean, come on. It's amazing how much power we give the government. Well, no. I'm sorry. I said give the government. Not that we give the government, that the government is taking.
Yeah. Well, some people give it to them. They like it.
Yeah, like that guy who I was talking about earlier who says I'm wasting my vote. Yeah.
They're only too happy to give up their rights, and that's how we got here.
If they want to give up their rights, that's fine. But I don't want them to take mine away. And these people are just not really seeing that. But you know what? Sadly, we're just down to the last few minutes of another show.
I can't tell you how many people I've heard say the statement that we have too much freedom.
It's like saying you've got too much oxygen.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could have too much oxygen, but let's put it this way: you've had too much pizza. Okay, I've never heard of a such thing as having too much pizza.
Oh yeah.
Even when I've had too much pizza, I haven't had too much pizza.
Stand on the scale, and you can decide how much pizza you've had.
Yeah, but I'll be dying with a smile on my face. So, hey, at any rate, what we're going to do here is we're going to be taking off in just a moment here, but I'd like to remind our friends that if you want to get in touch with us, you can leave us a Google Voice at 815-200-4912. Contact us at Twitter at The Side Project 2. Our email is thesideproject2@gmail.com. Our hashtag is hashtag TSPLive. Not the Sugar Pies, The Side Project Live. And if you want our archives, you can go to tsplive.com. That's the main site. We are on iTunes. We are in the iTunes store, so you can get us there. We're on radiofubar.com live every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. And by the way, we're dialing our show back to an hour. I think just an hour works better for us topic-wise and for the, getting on with our day. If you live with your mother-in-law, you know exactly what I'm talking about there. Let me look here.
Hour and a half's a long program for the listeners too. So
yeah, it definitely is. But okay, we're also on the TuneIn radio on your smartphone. Just search for Radio Fubar. Also, if you have, you can put Tuiville on TuneIn radio on your smartphone, and you can hear us on Sundays at noon. Or you can just go to tuiville.com on Sundays at noon if you'd like to hear it there as well. We're on Stitcher on your smartphone. And if you'd like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/TSPLive. That's patreon.com/TSPLive. And you can make a low per episode donation. And we also have a t-shirt in the Radio Fubar store. It's radiofubar.bigcartel.com. And while you're at it, listen to a bunch of the other shows on Radio Fubar. There's one that I just started listening to that I really like. It's the Chris Brake Show. And one of the co-hosts on that show, John Rapp, I believe his name is he's a fan of our show, and so hey, sending the love back. You know what I'm saying? So there you go. Once again, from Morris, this is Jim Goebel.
From Lockport, Eric Ferguson.
And saying goodbye for Lex Zorn, who sadly was in and out of the show today for
technical trouble. It looked like.
Yeah, he might have been having network trouble, but hey, we'll see you all later. And once again, we're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. See you later. The views and opinions expressed by
Wrong one.
Hold on.
Play it again. Who cares? Play it again.
There's the close. Oh, by the way, that movie, Mystery Science Theater 3000 fans, Danger Death Ray. We're done. Bye-bye.